Hello and welcome to our Friday webinars. We're back this month, June, with Lisa Bono. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi.
I understand it is our 20th Greyway episode. Is that right?
Correct.
20?
Yes. Yep. It is 20.
That is a lot of territory that you have covered.
Yes.
So if you're just joining us today, Lisa's gonna cover my bird wants that, but does your bird need that? So we're going to go over some products and some foods and stuff that your bird might love and want, but we're going to go over whether that's actually something they should have, right?
Correct. Yes.
Right.
I'm trying to get everybody in behind me. That's why I'm moving around.
Oh, you have them all positioned beautifully.
Thank you. Abby's behind my head.
Abby's like the special edition back there. So real quick, can you tell us who's who in your background?
Okay, let's see. Over here is Sterling. Then here is Emma. This one's Sam. And there's Abby. I'm trying to get them all in the right spot so nobody's jumping on my head or screaming in the background. Sydney is actually, he's not in the room right this minute because the last couple of webinars he has been screaming a lot. So I don't want to interrupt everybody. So he'll be back out here once we're done.
Well, the flock that you have with you right now, they're all like on their best behavior. So they're all...
Hopefully I got them in the right spot so they'll behave.
All right. So if you're just joining us, Lisa's going to go over, we're going to cover my bird wants that, but does my bird need that? And just a reminder that if you have a question to use the Q&A button, and we'll try to get to those at the near the end of the webinar. And I'm sure, are we doing a presentation, a PowerPoint, right? Okay. So I'll hand it off to you because we always seem to run out of time on these. With the questions.
That's because I try to jam pack them in there. So
yes.
I always feel like I'm leaving something out, and I'm sure there will be a lot of things that I didn't touch on today. Things that other people will, notice with their birds that I might not with mine. Feel free to jump in, keep Brenda busy there in the Q&A.
I have to mention that Brenda is back with us. So she's back behind the scenes, doing all of her magical work with the behind the scenes of the webinar. So glad to have Brenda back.
Yes. Yes. So I am ready whenever you are.
I'm ready. Take it away.
Okay, here we go. Give me a second to get everybody out of the way. Okay, I want to welcome everybody today. It is the 20th episode of the Greyway series, and it is the Greyway. My bird wants that, but does your bird need that? I think I'm also going to be touching on a lot of what parrot owners or caregivers want for their birds and think their birds want. So keep that in mind as we're going through this. So I want to congratulate Lafebers on their 3-year YouTube anniversary. That just came up in June. And then thank everybody to the viewers, and everybody who sent in photos for me to use, videos, finding me interesting enough to be presenting the 20th episode of the Greyway, and for keeping me in the top 10 webinars on the YouTube channel. I appreciate all your help and gratitude.
Yay. Sorry, that was a good shout out there. One of my most popular series here. So
well, thank you. Then it wouldn't be without all the viewers helping me out. So I appreciate it. I appreciate their loyalty and their friendship. There's a lot of things I see people doing, giving their birds on things on the net that are either not safe or can have adverse consequences for the offering. A lot of times we need to have common sense with things, but maybe the presentation will make you think twice on your next purchase, or when giving your parrot something you think they want, again, what the caregivers think they want, but do not need. We're going to start off with the infamous bedding. Okay, so birds don't need this. Maybe if you have a disabled parrot that needs to lay down, or perhaps doesn't have feet, or needs something softer to be able to sleep, there's other options besides this big enclosed thing. This type of hut is going to, especially with the two birds that are photoshopped in there, it's going to be nothing but a nest for them. So they don't have big cushy huts in the wild. They make nests when they want to. Otherwise, they're going to be sleeping in the trees with their flocks. Probably their mate sitting next to them on the branch. They're not going to be sitting in a big old soft, comfy hut. So keep this in mind when you're shopping. Again, there are some good reasons to have them if you have a disabled bird. But for any of my guys, no, I don't have them. There's a lot of different versions. I really don't find any of them very helpful. And again, I'm not dissing certain products or distributors. It's just what's going to be best in the long run for your parrot. So because Emma is disabled and she likes to lay down quite a bit, she'll actually lay on her back, and she can't lay on her back in a perch. She'll do it if she's on the bed or something like that. She will lay upside down. And I had a custom made type of hut for her at one point, but she was afraid of it. And then I thought about her being enclosed and thought it wasn't the best idea. I have 3 girls and 2 boys here, and things can get a little hairy. So we didn't want to have Emma starting to have eggs. So there are all kinds of things out there on every site you can imagine that are selling these type of things. And do you need it? No. This is the only type of real hut that I would, and it's not really a hut, it's more like a snuggle buddy. And I think that's even what it's called. For a bird, maybe if it's a little bit drafty in a certain area in the winter time, or they want to stay a little bit warmer, they really can't get into it, but they can snuggle up to it. And you still have to watch the bird chewing on it, because they can ingest the stuff that's on there. You don't want that. You don't want crop impactation. So you want to make sure that whatever you're using, if it's something like this, you check it almost daily to make sure there's nothing hanging off, they're not chewing in. If they are, take it out. Mirrors. Again, most of these products are coming from just general sites on the internet. A lot of people will give their birds parrots. Now, this piece of mirror, I actually have under some of my Swarovski crystal. I would have never thought to hang it up and stick it in a bird cage. The silver mirror glass is simply a sheet of glass manufactured by coating the back surface with silver and copper. Now, as we all know, copper is no good for our birds. The mirror must be thoroughly polished and cleaned to eliminate imperfections, and next to the back of the glass is sprayed with a layer of silver. Is it 100% silver? Are there other things in there? You can see on the back of the picture of the mirror there, you can see how easily it's scratched. So is your bird ingesting that? Is he going to get lead poisoning or zinc poisoning or something that's on there? If you do decide you want a mirror, go for something more like this. And I wouldn't really suggest it for the bigger guys. I've never really had mirrors in any of my cages. But this, you can see the design of it. They can't get to the back of the mirror. So that's important, because your birds are going to be touching everything with their beak, and you don't want to give them something that may harm them. So again, if you use something like this, which I don't, look for something that's going to be encased in either a plastic for a smaller bird or a wood for a bigger bird that they can't break. Now, ropes. These come in handy if you have a bird that has foot problems. You want to give different textures with all the different ropes that you use in the cage. And a lot of people will use just ropes because they're worried about bumblefoot and being diagnosed with that. And so this is not really a good idea just to have these in there, because you can see what happens after the birds start chewing on them. Again, it's something that has to be maintained constantly, and you don't want the bird ingesting this. So there was a study performed, and I'm going to use this on 2 different slides. The study was performed looking at objects and preferences in Amazon parrots. So they found out that frayed rope really wasn't as interesting as a wound up rope that they can destroy. So if your bird's going to destroy something like this, you're going to have to change it very often and keep an eye on it. Now you have bells, and this is kind of important for everybody because you see a lot of different toys made with bells. Brass is an alloy of copper and zinc. Both metals are potentially toxic to birds. Okay, potentially, but do you want to take that risk? Do you want to get your bird sick? Do you want to spend all that money and hopefully the bird makes a recovery? There are a lot of great different options out there that, you know, are stainless steel, or the bird can't, or the bell is enclosed and the bird can't physically touch the bell. You want to make sure you don't get anything with jingle bells. I see a lot of different products being in the business with jingle bells. I see a lot of people stringing jingle bells. That is very dangerous. There was just a video out, and it was from a vet, and it might have been in Australia, but there was a bird that came in with a jingle bell caught on the bottom beak. You don't want to do that. It's not worth it. They aren't designed for birds. Don't use them. You can see in the corner, I have stainless steel bells there. Those are a great option. And instead of a clapper inside, because you also have to be careful with the clappers, the small, I'm going to call it a Liberty Bell. The small Liberty Bells have a very thin little clapper in them. I am able to actually twist it and pull it out with my bare hands. Now imagine what parrot can do to that. So if I have a toy that I'm sending to a client and I don't feel that it's safe, I will remove the bell. If I know the person has a smaller bird, I will usually put a note attached to the toy and suggest they take the bell off themselves. And then I, show them different options that they can get. Epic has a lot of nice acrylic encased bells that are great for African greys. All my guys have these tubular bells by Kitech. It's safe. The larger cowbells, they are going to be harder for a bird to manipulate to pull that clapper out. Not only does the bell have a very sharp piece of metal inside after they pull out the clapper, but they can swallow the clapper and then you're in a lot of trouble. So you want to make sure that you're not using anything that may cause an issue. I see a lot of birds playing with these as well. These are made for cats. All right. So you have your little vine ball on the bottom. That would be acceptable. You have the orange or the red and the yellow ball, which is a thicker, harder plastic. And I will tell you, I have used those, even though they have a jingle bell inside. The only time I've ever seen them break is if a bird, now, again, I don't have a cockatoo, I don't have a macaw. I'm sure they would crack that, no problem. But my grays, how they've ended up cracking it is just throwing on the floor and it cracks. So you have to also be careful with the bells, because a lot of this, people will say, well, my bird's sitting on a bell, or it became very protective of a bell, or, specific, these little jingle bells. It's because it's hormonal. They're becoming hormonal with it. They may possibly think it's an egg, so they're going to be protective of it, and they might start feeding it. So you have to watch what you're offering. So yes, your birds are going to like the sound of the jingles. Make sure that they are safe. Excuse me. Now you have this type of toy. And obviously that's a pretty decent size Amazon right there. And we know that this toy's been blown up because that's not the actual size. But you have the hinges on there, which I'm not sure how they would attach safely for a bird to be playing. You have the color of the bells. What is it dyed with? I can also see on that Amazon there that bird has a leg chain on it. So I'm gathering that this product is not coming from our country, the good old USA, that does not use those leg bands. So, and again, the clapper on that one can come right off. The bird can swallow, can get cut. There's a lot of different things. So make sure you use a safe bell and not just any bell. And you want to make sure it's not a copper bell, because there's a lot of them still out on the market. Now, these little Macarena things, they're pretty cute, but I have bought a toy and I had it in the store. And my thing is if I drop a toy, I don't sell it. If it hits the floor, I throw it out. And I've done that, and my girls that worked for me could tell you that. I did have a toy with one of these on it, thought it was cute, until I dropped it. And that thing snapped, and inside wasn't a bell like I thought. There were 3 little metal beads, like a BB. So something like that is not going to be safe. So don't even, again, they love it. They're going to pick it up. They're going to make noises with it, but that is not good, because they can swallow them. Now we're moving on to cardboard boxes. You have a lot of people that offer cardboard boxes. I know it's a cheap alternative and the birds really like to destroy. My concern with that little condo we got going on there, that is going to be a nesting situation. So the bird's going to become more hormonal. It's going to want to nest. It's going to want to chew things up. And then if you have a female, you may have problems with the egg coming out. I've had clients up to the birds up to about 32 years of age, never had an egg, and then all of a sudden did. So you can't really encourage this kind of stuff. If you're going to offer cardboard box, and again, yes, the birds love it. There are a lot of cardboard toys out there, but get yourself a skewer or a kebab and hang them in different ways. I always say, cut up the boxes in little pieces and put it on the kebab and let the birds destroy it that way. This way they have a lot of fun and they are not getting in something to get their hormones going. These are not toys at all. And I see a lot of people letting the birds play with the keys, play with just plain chains, and they playing with money. So the chains are very dangerous if you have chains just hanging there. It's not fun with the birds. Yeah, the bird's going to hit it because it has nothing else to do. So, make sure those chains are not hanging there. And you can always, if you do have a chain, you can always get wood to restring it on there. There are a lot of bird parts out there, bird toy parts out there. A key is not a toy. Keys are made with brass, silver, and steel, and you have to be careful. You don't know what you're getting. Mainly, you're not going to have the stainless steel keys around. Even if so, they're not exactly clean after they've been all over the world. So I wouldn't do that. Same thing with money. There's really no reason for your bird to be sitting there playing with money. You have little acrylic hoops and triangles and squares and everything else that you can get. Let them play with that. It's a safer opportunity, or for them to chew on. And again, yes, your bird will like these things. They'll like the textures of it. And I know that they're used in a lot of research, but the bird's not chewing on the product. They're not handing it to them and letting it play with it. They're tapping with it, or they're teaching them. They're not saying, here's a toy, have fun, like I see on the internet. Here are some nice alternatives. You do have plastic chains. You can make toys with them. They make, anywhere from probably 3/4 inch up to about 2 inches, or maybe even 3 inches in size. And you can put that on a bird safe, ring and put it in the cage, and they like that. It makes noises. And then alternative for keys, that's actually a baby toy. And yes, I do have that. I look at the baby aisle every once in a while, make sure that, it's strictly just plastic. There is nothing there that is like that squishy teething material or anything they can ingest, but that is a safer alternative. And they can actually throw that, which most birds do. They throw it and you pick it up, so it ends up being a game. Now we're going to online toys. I apologize for the cockatiel halfway being cut off there. I was trying to get fancy and I don't know what happened to its head. So you have to be careful with what you're buying online. A lot of, you have your well-established good toy companies, and then you have a lot of people that just copy them and maybe are not using the best materials, the safest materials, chains, stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff to worry about. Now, if you see, this is right off the website. So you see the size of that toy, you see the size of a cockatiel, that is probably accurate, person to cockatiel size. Target species for the toy is parakeet. And the product dimensions are, 19 inches long. And the breed recommendation is small breeds. So use a little common sense here. Parakeet is going to do nothing with that. That is going to be more of a macaw toy or a cockatoo toy if they go for it. So here's some more that I saw online, and we're going to go over some of the toys here. First off, the name of the toys is not from here. Again, you'll have a lot of people having the same looking type toys that are not from here and not safe. So if we're looking up at that pinwheel on the top, look at that chain. That does not look like a very safe chain. Now they have an Amazon right in the middle. And that Amazon is the same size, almost the same size as that parakeet, which is almost the same size as the lovebird. So again, they're all photoshopped in there. You have the toy all the way to the left. You have this little jingle bell. It's not safe. I am not really sure what this plastic thing is. It just looks like two spikes, which can easily grab a head. Here again, you have all these jingle bells. You have your mirrors. This looks like an interesting little swing if it didn't have the jingle bells on it. So you have to be careful with what you're getting. This Boeing here, that's not a Boeing to sit on. That's more of a millet holder. And when people are ordering these online, they don't realize it. They see the size of the Amazon. They see that it's a cheap price. Well, it's a cheap price for a reason. And you can't have an Amazon playing with these small little toys. So you have, even look at the hooks to attach them to the cage. Those are extremely unsafe. So now using your chat, I want you guys to tell me what you see on this toy. What you see is the reason you would not buy it. I'm going to open the chat so I could see. Okay, we have the bell, loosely twisted rope, small parts. Okay, very good. I'm glad everybody's looking at this. Okay, so we have, gotta lower the chat to get these on. Long ropes to get entangled or ingest. Colored jingle bell. That's great for beaks or toes to get caught in. You have open links, meaning like there's a starburst over to the left. You have the plastic chains hanging down. You have open links to get caught under a beak, a bigger bird. And then you have a small, easily broken rocking horse on the bottom. So I don't know what size this toy was because it didn't say, but that's not necessarily something you want to bring into your home. Even though the bird would probably have a lot of fun chewing it all apart, there's other options that are better. Again, same thing with here in the chat. Let me know what you see wrong here. Yes, and Adrian, with the thin wire attaching the flower to the top left of the last picture, yes. Those clips, the bells. Bell clappers, yep. Hinges, good. Chains, all right. Everybody got what I saw, which is great. I'm happy you guys are doing this. Hooks to attach to the cage. That's definitely going to hurt some bird. Colored bells with the clappers. not safe. We don't know what it's made of. Hinged links. Yep, up there in the corner, all the way to the left. And flimsy chains. So you have to be careful and watch out for this. Again, the sun conure is not the same size as a gray, and a gray is not going to fit in that. So again, this is from the Association of Avian Veterinarians. A study was performed looking at objects preference in Amazon parrots. Wooden cubes produce six times more interactions than rawhide did. And the reason for that is because the birds can chew the wood and destroy it versus the rawhide. Now you hear some people say rawhide for dogs isn't good. I don't have dogs, I don't know, but that's what I've heard. And, you know, with a bigger beak, who knows if a parrot can break off a piece eventually and ingest it. So you have to be careful with that. Clothing. That's my little famous Samson bell there. I did dress him. Don't hold that against me. He was a baby. He didn't know better. So there's a lot of clothing companies out there for parrots. And, you know, it might be cute to get a quick picture in it, but your birds really don't need clothing. You know, okay, for Halloween or, you know, Christmas, cute little picture. But they don't need to be wearing clothes 24/7. They are birds. They are not little humans. And then you have your little collars like this. And again, there are some good people out there that work with veterinarians to get the right collars for you. Don't just be buying it off the big websites and thinking you're getting what you need, because that is not good for your bird. Okay, so around the house, those are some of the things that your bird would want if you were buying them, or you would think your bird would want if you were buying them. It's really the humans, again, think about it. So around the house, here you have this little guy, this little female, excuse me. She was obviously quite busy while her owner was not looking or looking the other way. So I can't stress this enough. Being on the floor is very dangerous, and I see it lots of times a day on Facebook. You know, recent studies at the University of Arizona found 9 different species of bacteria on people's shoes. These bacteria can cause infections in our stomachs, eyes, and lungs. They also found the bacteria live longer on our shoes than in other places. As we walk, we constantly pick up new debris that feeds the growth of more bacteria. So the researchers tested to see if the bacteria on shoes would transfer on the tile floors in the house. More than 90% of the time it did. Carpeting harbors bacteria even more. So Good Morning America's test results were for your floor is actually dirtier than a toilet seat. Research assistant at the University of Arizona's College of Public Health, toilet seats usually have 1,000 bacteria or less, and there are millions or so. There's a lot more bacteria on your floor. So, you know, you're bringing in, if you stepped in something outside, whether it was, you know, another bird poop, we have West Nile virus, we have a lot of things going on here. You do have to be careful. Want to practice biosecurity. I don't let anybody in my house that has their shoes on. My husband just kind of seems to ignore that. So I do a lot of washing and vacuuming. But you have to be careful. And if you let your bird play on the floor, it's going to be real difficult to then change that behavior and all of a sudden have them somewhere else. So if you have a young bird, try to find other places for the bird to be on, whether it's on your sheet, on your bed with a sheet down for when he poops, it's only on the sheet. You know, make other places that are safe for them. You want to make sure that they're not picking up anything. And yes, you're going to say, okay, well, what about the wild birds? That's true. But with the wild birds, if they step in something or they get sick, they just die. So it's not like we're going to have these studies saying, well, this bird was sick and he recovered, so it was okay for him to walk through it. We only know because we take our birds to the vet. So you want to make sure that, you know, you want it clean and you want everybody to take their shoes off and try to keep your bird up off the floor. Now, this is another thing. A lot of birds like to chew on shoes because people offer them. And then people get mad when they get a hold of their, their fancy heels or their rhinestone shoes. Just keep your shoes and your sneakers. It's not a clean thing for your bird to be chewing on. You have, if you're going to give it a little sneaker, there are toys that you can offer. You see the little pink shoes up there. They have the little eyelets in it. So the bird's chewing that whole thing apart. And then you have these little metal rings. Well, luckily, if you're lucky, you'll be able to find them when the bird's done chewing on them. But chances are they might have swallowed them. So you want to make sure you get the sneakers that don't have the eyelet on them. And that's a safer alternative than letting them chew on your shoes. Allowing to make a nest in a dark room. Yes, this is what our birds want to do. They want to make nests in a dark room. A lot of people let them, often in the bathroom. So that's one of the problems I get asked about a lot. Their birds end up going in the bathroom, and the owners then have a hard time going in there, or the bird chases them, or they don't understand why the bird is drawn to the dark room. Again, it's nesting. They're looking for a cavity to get into. Bathrooms are dark. They can get in there. They can get behind the toilet, which is not very clean. So you want to make sure that you're not allowing the birds, even though they want to, go exploring again on the floor to get under your counter or your cabinet or your couch. Here, this macaw is just making his way into the bathroom. So, you want to try to deter that before it even starts. And people, they allow it to happen. They think it's cute, and then all of a sudden they have a problem, and then all of a sudden the bird is plucking, and then all of a sudden their bird's sick because it's been hanging out with the toilet brush. So, we have to use some common sense here. Yes, your bird wants to be outside, but not without protection. That's not really the smartest thing to do. Now, I can see by the picture, it looks like the birds, or at least the macaw looks like he's clipped. Clipped birds can still fly. So you want to make sure that they always have some kind of protection with them, because that owl over there, he's just waiting for his next easy meal. So yes, the birds like to be outside. It's our responsibility to keep them safe. This is a few of the lost African greys that have come across my timeline within the last couple days. So I know there are, mistakes, or people, the bird's able to get out, carrying furniture in or something like that, opening the front door. Those are accidents. Sometimes they are not 100% preventable. The owner might have thought the bird was in the cage, and it wasn't. So we always have to be vigilant, make sure we know where the birds are before we open the doors, open the windows, put signs on our doors. If you're going to have a fully flighted bird, I have them on mine. But just don't take them outside with their wings clipped and expect them to sit there, because they're not gonna. And that theory of my bird loves me too much to fly away is just hogwash. That bird's going to get scared. It's going to take off. Sitting on the head. Okay, that's my husband there. And that is Sydney. And Sydney has this uncanny ability to tell when my husband was going to be deployed. Now, Sydney never did this at any other time, but the night before deployments. And he would insist on flying over there, land on the back of the couch, go down there and sit on the head. So we finally gave up, because, it was just the day before deployments, but it was like Sydney was trying to hold them down or hold them home. It worked out well for that macaw. During the little soccer match, we all saw it on TV. But again, if you allow this, and the bird's going to want to be at the highest spot, if you allow this, it's not going to set too well with your guests that come over, and the bird's out and wants to fly and land on the head. It's going to end up getting very tiring for you if you're trying to watch TV and the bird constantly wants to be on your head. So make sure you have an acceptable place for him to sit, so he doesn't end up being there. Another thing your birds want is to eat whatever you have. So here we have a steak and we have a Corona. So this bird obviously is eating whatever the owner has. And again, I see a lot of this on the internet, or a lot of people will say, oh, well, you know, my bird eats chicken and fish and tuna, and, you know, he'll have his eggs and he likes oatmeal. So that's what we eat. Well, that is not a good diet for your bird. You really should, some people are saying birds need more protein. Some people are saying they shouldn't have any. Some of the bird pellets already have enough protein in it. What you really want to do is not just take my advice. You want to talk to your vet about this. If your vet is, you know, knowledgeable with birds and your vet says it's okay for your bird to have an egg once a week, or part of an egg, excuse me, one egg is way too much, part of an egg once a week, I'm not going to argue with that. They're the vet, I'm not. I highly doubt your vet is going to say, well, go buy a prime rib and let the bird gnaw on it. That's going to not be good for their heart. Cholesterol, proteins, everything, it's just not good. Okay. Of course, your bird wants what you drink. And that's Miss Emma. She was outside. I just happened to put my beer down because I was probably watering the plants. I turn around and she's trying to grab it. So a lot of people will feed their birds coffee, all kinds of tea. I've sadly seen people give alcohol because they think it's funny. That's not funny. It's just being a bad owner. You shouldn't be doing that. The birds shouldn't be able to reach anything like that. It's the birds want it, of course, because they see you doing it, but it's not safe for them. And another thing is a lot of people are giving their birds milk or cereal, and a lot are offering ice cream. So I know some vets will encourage yogurt once a week, a little taste of yogurt, and that would be good if your vet says that, but don't be giving them anything else like this. Playing with other birds. The birds are flock species, and of course they really want to play with other birds, okay? But you want to make sure that they are getting along. And you know, the cockatiels, obviously, they have a sweeter, gentler nature. Actually, parakeets tend to be a little bit more bullier than cockatiels are, which I did not know until I had all those. And I saw my little parakeets really, you know, thinking they were 10 feet tall. So you want to make sure that if the birds, of course, they're going to want to play together, you have to make sure they're not going to hurt one another. So here you have this little setup here. That gray kind of looks like it's a younger bird. And then you have a macaw, while the blue and golds might be a little bit more docile than other ones, that, you know, that beak can easily fit around that gray's head. There's a lot of birds that get hurt, you know, all the time. Bigger birds snapping off beaks or breaking legs, or, you know, you have to be careful. Just don't think it's cute because your bird wants to play with another bird. You have to make sure that they're compatible and they're not hurting each other. Here's another thing. I get slack all the time for talking about other pets and birds. Now, while it's certainly doable for some, the rule is you want to keep your animals away from your birds. Even though your bird might want to be around them because maybe he doesn't realize the danger, maybe he's a younger bird, that cat doesn't have good intentions in his eyes, okay? That bird doesn't stand a chance if that cat even licks him, because he's going to have to go for medication within 24 hours. So here we have a bunch of people that are, now the ones in the cage are probably photoshopped, but here we have a lot of people that let their different species interact. Outdoor cats approximately kill 2.4 billion birds every year. I can see the cats in my hood doing that, and it upsets me greatly. It doesn't mean you have a bad cat. And this is where people jump on me all the time. Well, my dog's great or my cat's great. They would never do this. People just don't understand that cats are natural predators. Wild felines kill to eat, and domestic cats draw on their instinct to hunt, as it is in their DNA. So it's not that you have a bad animal. That's what the animal does. Now, can you train it out of them? You'd have to talk to a dog or cat behaviorist on that. Then we have predatory drift, another thing people jump on me all the time. I have a Facebook page for African Greys. We do not allow predator and prey species pictures to be shared. People are like, oh, my dog's been with my bird for 15 years. It's perfectly fine. Well, I don't want to tell you the stories I've heard through the years. And even though it might be cute and maybe your bird's interacting there, you have to be very careful, because again, it doesn't mean you have a bad dog. It's predatory drift, and it has nothing to do with aggression, rather prey drive. So I am going to read something from a colleague of mine, Emily Scott, who is a certified dog behavior consultant. This has to do with dogs, but you can easily substitute for parrot. So you have predatory drift originates from a dog's ancient instinct to hunt and kill prey. It's a hardwired behavior that can be triggered in any dog. It is prey drive, hunting and killing for food. It is in pure form and should not be confused with aggression, which is fighting between dogs, usually based out of fear or defensiveness. In modern society, most pet dogs don't have to kill for their next meal. The behavior is still there, but now it presents in a new way. Most pet owners have experienced predatory drift between two dogs. One dog is triggered to attack another dog. Once the predatory trigger starts, the behavior continues to its end, often with disastrous consequences for the victim dog. Predatory drift commonly starts with play, but then escalates to more predatory behavior like stalking, chasing, and biting. It also most commonly occurs when large dogs are playing with smaller dogs. They may seem to play well to start, but then the play escalates and the predator instinct kicks in and the large dog goes for the kill. Sadly, the smaller dog is often mauled or killed. The challenge with preventing predatory drift is that the behavior is often spontaneous, and a dog may have never had any history of aggression towards another dog until that moment. So you have to be very careful. Again, it's not that you have a bad dog. It's hardwired into them. And the same thing with the cats. Sleeping in bed. Your birds might want to be in bed. That's Miss Emma. That was after she was sick. You could see her little feathers growing in on her belly. That was when she had her little liver issues going on. A lot of people take their birds in bed because the bird likes to, climb down alongside of them in like a little hut area, be nice and warm. And unfortunately, the people end up falling asleep in bed, rolling over and killing the bird. So it's never a good idea for your bird to be sleeping in bed, even though it wants to. If you have them in your room, that's one thing. If you have them in their own cage in your room, that's one thing. I don't prefer to have my birds in the room, in the bedroom, and I suggest most people don't, because you know that they will repeat just about everything. So while they can rest, and there's Emma again, right, laying on her back, resting, it was never a good idea to have them sleeping in bed. Another thing your birds love to do is stay up late. I know my guys do, but these guys need at least 10 hours of sleep a night. So you cannot have them out in the living room up until 1 o'clock in the morning, hanging out, and then have them back up at 6. That's not good for your bird. It's not good for you. That's why if you are able, make sure that you're able to put them in a separate area that's going to be quiet. Or if you can't do that, if that's your family room, if you can put a TV in another spot, you want quiet time, you want them to wind down, you want them to sleep good. They love it. They love to stay up, but it's not in their best interest. Having free roam of the house or cage free. A lot of people say cage free now. This is just simply not a good idea. The birds can get in too much trouble. They don't know the difference between a wire and a toy, or your grandmother's armoire or a wooden block. It's, you know, they instinct is to chew and destroy, and you can't be upset when something like that happens. And mainly I tell people this is not a good idea. They need a safe place when people are going in and out of doors so they can't fly out and become a statistic. Also, you never know. Hopefully you will never, ever have to deal with it. But you don't know if you're going to have a fire. You need to know where that bird is at all times so you can grab that bird and get out. Same thing with your earthquakes or your tornadoes, any kind of natural disaster. You know, you need to know where that bird is. And if you have a free roam or a cage-free bird, you're not always going to know where that bird is, and that bird's life might depend on it. Okay, letting your parrot eat from your mouth. Okay, so this is what the birds do in the wild. That's what they're supposed to do, feed their little offspring. Humans shouldn't be doing this at all. It's just disgusting. So, and I see it a lot. People will let their birds, you know, pick on their teeth, chew on their tongue, their lips. You wouldn't let your dog come in and lick the inside of your lips. So why are you letting your bird do it? Allowing your birds to pick your teeth is not advised, as human saliva can contain dangerous bacteria, is unsuitable for birds, and you can have a very sick bird. Just don't do it. It's gross. So what we should want for our birds, okay? We should want a healthy diet. Our goal is to keep these guys happy, healthy, and safe. So you want to make sure that they have a healthy diet, and that's going to consist of a pellet that you're using. I am not 100% against seed. It depends on what seed and, you know, how much you're using. There are some good products out there that do have a little bit of seed in them. And you also want to offer some fresh fruits and veggies, more veggies than fruits. We've discussed that in several webinars. But that's going to keep your bird happy and healthy. That's much better than offering them a steak and a beer. Clean air. We should want clean air for them and for us. And people up in the Northeast over the last couple of days have really been struggling with these wildfires that have been coming down, the smoke that they have been dealing with. It's very important that your bird has clean air and that you have clean air so you can both stay happy and healthy. Natural sunlight. We should want this for the birds, and they're going to love it. Now, whether it's natural light or whether it is artificial lighting, you know, the bulbs that they have out for parrots. I have past webinars where one of my vets have talked about it and what she suggests. And it's Dr. Wade. You can look it up, Buffalo Bird Nerd. And so this is a little cockatiel up there. That's a nice little contraption that sits on the window. I actually have it for one of my guys for the RV, actually for Ollie, my Kaik. And while it's good and they can sit right by the window, the acrylic, I would believe, would be blocking the beneficial sun. And then the windows, if they're after 1974, that's blocking the natural sunlights and what they need. So you can see down the bottom, when I only had 3 African grays, they would come out and I had little tables I would put their cages on. Those are the same exact cages I am using probably close to 15 years later. And they would come out and I would be sitting right there with them, watching them, make sure there's no hawks, there's no nothing, and they can get their little sunlight. You want to make sure, another thing is, you hear a lot of people say the biggest cage possible is what you want to put your bird in. And while that's a good theory, selling cages over the last 15 years, you have to make sure that you are able to correctly clean the cages. If you have this monstrosity of a cage, you have to take it apart to get it outside, to clean it properly, okay? It's not going to fit in your bathtub. These things barely fit in my bathtub. So I take them all outside. Now, if you have a cage that's not going to fit through a doorway, you're not going to clean it properly. You're going to have to take it apart. Well, in all honesty, everybody gets lazy. And they're not going to take it apart every time they got to take it out. They're going to push it off month by month by month. So while it's beneficial that they have a lot of place to roam, you want to make sure that the place they have to roam is clean. It's not going to do them any good if you have this humongous cage that is disgustingly dirty because you can't get it outside to clean. So keep that in mind when you are shopping for cages. The cages you see here for my grays, Sammy over there in the left side, she is in a 24x36 cathedral. And then we have Sydney, he is in a 34x23-34 dome top. You can see that's pretty decent size for them. You want to make sure they have appropriate play stands. Again, this is what we should want for everybody. Now, if you're out there buying a tree, keep in mind, you can see where my girls are sitting. You have Abby on the left, Sam in the middle, Emma on the right. Look at the size perches they're choosing to sit on. Okay, there's a lot of thicker perches there. Java is slippery. You want to make sure that they are able to grab on and hold on safely without falling off. You also want to make sure that since they're going to be swinging around on this and moving to all the perches, you want to make sure that they can wrap their beak around it, not this huge honking 3-piece, 3-inch piece of wood they can't get their beak around to move to the next perch. It's not going to be a usable product for you. So actually, all the trees that I have in my room are going to be size small. You want to make sure, we should all want this for our birds, that you have safe toys. Even if that means taking off a piece that you don't find safe or deem safe, like I do with my clients' birds, take the pieces off. This one is more for a conure size bird, but Emma, it has, she likes the smaller toys better than she does the big ones. And that is in part my fault. So I took off some pieces off of this, so it would be appropriate for her to be able to chew on. She'll enjoy it. And I know she's safe. So we're going to wrap it up. Hopefully this gave you some idea of maybe the things your bird may want, but does he need, the things he does need, and how to choose what you're going to get. So we will stop sharing and time for questions.
Sorry, I unmute myself. Let's see what we got here. We do. We got one right out of the gate here. Someone saying, Nan says that they agree with you that rope perches quickly become damaged and dangerous. Is there an alternative for the softer, safe perch for a bedtime cage? So what do you recommend for a nice soft perching spot for your bird to sleep on?
Well, my guys actually just sleep on wooden perches. They don't have any problems with their feet. They never have. My oldest is 40. So I don't necessarily use ropes in my cages just because I don't want them chewing in it, ingesting it. There are perches out there that are made of a leather, which will probably be a little bit softer, but it's going to be really hard to clean them if they get soiled. So, you do have some companies, their rope perches are better than others. The way they attach at the very end, most birds are going to chew right where it's attached at the end. So, there's, like I said, there's rope perches that are better than others, but I still prefer to use just a perch. A wood perch.
A wood perch, right? Okay. Let's see here. Oh, okay. So Tara wants to know, where can we get the bird safe kebabs? They see so many toys with small wooden beads. Is that a concern? Also wanted to get your thoughts on cage covers at nighttime. So there's three elements of that question for you.
We'll start with the cage covers. I made mine. I had a sheet. I cut it in half, and I made the little seam, and I stuck the cotton rope through it. I've used sheets. You know, your birds are going to chew through it. Abby has a very nice, window to look out, down the hall now, out of one of the cage covers that I made for her. So you can use a lightweight sheet once you're done with whatever sheet you have. Just make sure they have an air hole in it. The beads, the wooden beads, you do have to be careful depending on what species and what size. My guys with the smaller wooden beads, I would say maybe they're about 3/4 of an inch. I won't really go anything smaller with a wooden bead for my guys, and Sterling will snap them right in half. Emma just rolls them around their cage. So you do have to be careful with that, again, depending on species, depending on the size of the bead. And what was the second question?
The kebabs, where can they get the bird safe kebabs?
Okay, there's a lot of different kebabs out there. If you want to write me and tell me what kind of species, I can tell you there's probably 3 different ones right off the bat. The smaller one, if it's a smaller bird, we can go for, more of a lightweight one versus the big, heavy steel ones. But I do keep them in stock. So reach out to me and I can either guide you to the right place or, help you out.
Okay. Oh, I had a question about the cage cover. What about night frights? Does that play into that at all? If your bird it tends to get night frights, did you cover the cage? You partially cover the cage? Does it help with night frights? Does it hinder?
Cockatiels are notorious for night frights. I would suggest with them, even if you want to, you can cover them with a light colored sheet. I would keep a night light on somewhere in the room, not necessarily next to them or shining on them, maybe behind a cabinet where they can still see what's going on. Not that that's going to stop them, but I don't think I slept the whole night between 1986 and 2007 because of all my cockatiels, and one starts, they all start. So yeah.
Yeah, no, in California here, I've noticed when there's any kind of rumbling, like an earthquake, my cockatiel was just on it, like 5 minutes before the thing would hit, he'd night fright. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so Rhonda had a question about how often should we change the toy in the cage? And also, what percentage of toys should we change at once to minimize parrot freak out from changing the toys? I love that. So the breeder that they got their bird from, Charlie, gave him popcorn and Cheerios as part of their diet. What are your thoughts on offering those as well? So
Lafeber's has a popcorn product I will use, which is good. Cheerios, I've heard mixed things. I'm not going to say that I haven't used them in the past, or I wouldn't, or maybe I wouldn't hesitate, but I was told they have a lot of zinc in them. So you want to kind of limit that. That may have been more as a training thing. Don't just go give them a big bowl of, Cheerios. That's not going to be the right thing. You want to make sure they're having the right diet and not filling up on junk. And what was the other question?
And not with milk, not your Cheerios with milk. The other question was, they had a question about changing the toy in the cage. And what percentage of toys should they change at once? So should you swap them all out at one time, or one toy at a time swap out? How do you manage that?
You'll find that they have a favorite toy, and hopefully it's an acrylic toy that lasts forever, so you don't have to worry about swapping that one out. I would say, I do monthly boxes, and I would hope that my clients are swapping out those toys or those chains that are empty, on a monthly basis, or taking them out when they're done to replace them with something that came in the box. So you don't want something that, you don't want a paper toy just hanging there with a big string of paper. That's not going to be any fun for them. I don't think I've ever really changed all the toys at once, because I'm lucky enough to be old enough where they had a lot of acrylic toys at different shows and stuff. So my guys are stocked on acrylic toys because Greys really do like acrylic. But just make sure that you change them as needed, and then maybe a little bit more often, just as a surprise, and give them something else to do.
Okay. And then there's also the possibility, maybe just if it's being ignored, a toy you think your bird doesn't like, it is moving it to a different part of the cage might get them interested in it, right? Is that
Right,
something
or even if you can, take it apart, maybe offer it as foot toys. A lot of times if the birds aren't paying attention to the toy, it may not be the right toy. I had that with one of my birds. We bought a toy, we were out, my friends were with me, we all bought the same exact toy. And we brought it home and we all discussed that none of our birds would play with this toy. So we moved it to another cage and those birds wouldn't play with it. And then we took it apart as foot toys and those birds still wouldn't play with it. It was whatever wood or whatever dye they were using. So we ended up throwing all the toys out.
Wow. Okay. And then we have a question from Leslie about the brand of artificial or full spectrum lighting that you recommend. And for how long do you recommend that you use the full spectrum lighting a day?
Well, I always used mine just for 5 hours a day. Some vets might recommend more, some less, depending on the type of light you're using. Avian Sun is one that is out there that I believe Dr. Wade did some research on. And I believe that's what she uses with her own. There's some brands out there that I haven't heard of, and people using reptile lights or, using lights that they got at Home Depot. That's not giving them the same thing that they need. So look into Avian Sun, I believe it is. If that's not it, somebody correct me and I could look it up.
Okay. And those 5 hours, do you plan that for a certain time of the day? Like, do you have it on a timer? Is
Yeah,
it
mine
consistent?
are
Like,
all, yeah, mine are all on timers. So I would, when I was working at the store, I was putting in some really long hours. So what I would do is I'd have everything on timers and mine would come in on maybe, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then so 6 o'clock, when it was getting dark early, you're talking 4:30, 5 o'clock, it's starting to get dark. My rooms in my house were just lit up like I was growing something because it was so bright with all the lights on for the birds.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny, but then they would go off by the time I got home, they would just be going off and I could turn on a softer light.
All right. There you go. I think that's our last question for the day. If we didn't get to your question, we'll try to get you an email response to that. Well, first, obviously, Lisa, that was another out of the ballpark presentation. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And your flock, they just chilled in the background, like they are just happy there. They're all just kind of chilling. I love it.
Yes. And if I can add in real quick, I'm not going to be here in July, but they have some wonderful people that are going to be doing some presentations. So I hope everybody joins in. And then when I come back in August, I'm going to be doing bad internet advice. So everybody that's watching, I want you to send me this bad internet advice that you've seen so we can talk about it.
Oh my gosh, we should have people research that now, and then we'll pick like the worst advice that someone like the worst advice. I'll read it off. We'll read it off, right? Like a little contest there. I love that idea. That's awesome. Well, since you're gonna be back with us in July, this is your 20th episode. So if you haven't seen all the 19 previous ones that Lisa has done, you can go on the Lafeber YouTube channel and catch all those. So there you go. Oh, okay. So I gotta real quick. I gotta announce we have a winner. We have actually, it's pretty exciting because this, I hope everybody knows by now, but Lafeber just launched a brand new product, a new diet, and it's going to be It's going to be the banana berry. So it's like Nutriberry's banana flavor. And it comes in a really cool tin. I'm gonna try doing an unboxing of the product. Hopefully for our next webinar, but so that is going to go out today to Ann Beck. Congratulations. You get the 50th anniversary. It's a gold tin. If you go on the Lafeber website, you'll see it, lafeber.com, pet birds. You'll see this glorious gold tin. That's going to have your banana Nutriberries in there, and then also another product of your bird's choice. So it's pretty exciting, and let us know how your bird likes it. And then next Friday, we're back on with Dr. Tom Tolley for another episode of Ask the Vet. So if you have any vet questions, tune in. So Lisa, I think as you said, we'll see you back in, is it not in July, but in August? Is that? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we'll see you in August. You have a great month of July. And again, if you haven't seen all of Lisa's previous 19 episodes, if you missed one, just scroll through the Lafeber YouTube channel. You can catch them there, as well as all of our other webinars and other great content. So there we go. On that note, Lisa, I wish you a long and happy month of June and July. It's ready. We'll see you fresh in August.
Sounds good.
All right, everybody, have a great weekend. All the best to you and your flock, and everyone stay safe. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.